Equations. So this is a Unit 6 seminar on problem solving with equations. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you an example of a few word problems that you may have encountered in your unit work or that you may encounter on the test, and we're going to work through them together. And after that, we're going to tackle assignment B from your unit guide, because I found that a lot of students struggled with assignment B, and that was you were given some complicated algebraic expressions and you had to isolate for a particular letter, okay? So we're going to actually do the assignment together. Raise your hand if you've already finished Unit 6. Okay, so if you finished Unit 6, it's okay, because we are going to, this will be a good review to help you before your test, okay? Because a lot of these questions are going to appear again. All right, so question number 1. Find two consecutive integers. The sum of the smaller and twice the larger is 35. What are the integers? So first of all, we have two consecutive integers. So let's state that let n be the smaller integer. So n has to be the smaller integer. We've got to state that first. That means that find two consecutive integers, the sum of the smaller and twice the larger. So if we take the smaller integer and we're going to add it, because we're talking about sum, to twice the larger integer. Now, if n is the smaller integer and we're talking about consecutive, that word is very important. Consecutive integers. Does anyone know an expression that can represent a consecutive integer? Yep. Good. Whenever we're talking about consecutive integers, the second integer is going to be n plus 1. So the larger integer, we're going to let n plus 1 represent the larger integer. That means in this expression, n plus 1, we have twice the larger integer, and the sum of both those expressions are going to be equal to 35. So what property do we have to exhibit here to solve this equation? What property are we going to use? Algebraic property. Yep. Yes, the distributive property. So we're going to take the 2 and distribute it to the n plus 1. So that will give us n plus 2n plus 2 times 1 is 2 is equal to 35. That gives me a total of, if I'm combining like integers, 3n is going to be equal to 35, and we want to bring the positive 2 over to the other side, so it becomes negative 2. So 3n is going to be equal to 35 minus 2, which is 33. Divide both sides by 3, which gives me a total value for n. What is 33 divided by 3? Can someone tell me? Yep, Avina? 11. N is equal to 11. So that means that n plus 1, which is going to be the larger integer, is going to be equal to 12. So whenever you are given a word problem, it's extremely important that you have a written statement as your final answer. Without the written statement, you're going to be losing a few marks, a mark on your test, okay? So for this particular problem, the smaller integer is 11. And the larger integer is 12. And so very simple. We're starting off with a very simple, straightforward problem. The next one's a little bit more complicated if you haven't seen a problem like this before. So this involves perimeter. So I'll give you a second to copy that down. Have W as our width and W plus 8 as our length. So the good thing about this is that we've been able to express our length in terms of our width, so we have the same letter. So when we plug this information into the perimeter formula, our perimeter formula is length plus width. So my length is W plus 8, and my width is W. And I know that my perimeter is equal to 32. So if we solve everything inside the bracket, W plus W is going to give me what? W plus W. Matthew? 2W. Very good. 2W plus 8. And so now all I have to do is apply the distributive property. So I'm going to take the 2, multiply it by the first term, take the 2 again, and multiply it by the second term. So we get 2 times 2W is 4W. 2 times 8 is 16. So 16 is going to be equal to 32. 4W plus 16, is going to be equal to 32. 4W is equal to 32 minus 16. That means 4W is equal to, now am I doing this right? Yes. What is 32 minus 16? Can someone tell me? Yeah. 16. Good. So if we divide both our sides by 4, that gives me a value of W is equal to 4, because 16 divided by 4 is 4. What is my expression for my length again? What is my length? Yep. Okay, so length is equal to W plus 8. So 4 plus 8 is going to give me 12. So the question is asking to find the dimensions of the rectangle. So we have to write a written statement. The dimensions of the rectangle are 4 centimeters by 8 centimeters. 4 centimeters by 12 centimeters. And if you add 12 plus 12, which will give you 24, plus another 8, you should get 32, right? So that all makes sense, and our problem is complete. So perimeter problems are very, very common in grade 9, but also in grade 10. So whenever you're dealing with rectangles, remember 2L plus 2W, or 2 times the length plus width, as for your perimeter formula. Okay, now we have an age problem. So this is a little bit longer, so copy this down. This is not as obvious. Sounds like the very first sentence. Have Leanne's age reflected in terms of Joan. Yep. Yes, because Leanne is 5 years older than Joan. So Leanne is going to be J plus 5. That's how we're going to represent her age. Now, in order to solve this problem, we have to talk about 4 years ago.